Welcome to SVG-TV News for Monday, December the 8th, 2014. I am Jennifer Richardson with the details. The leader of the opposition New Democratic Party, Arnhim Eustace, is appealing for calm and restraint following an incident at an NDP meeting in Clare Valley on Saturday night, which left one man dead and several persons injured. In a media release issued earlier today, the NDP also calls for a thorough and transparent police investigation into the incident. Kristin John-Deane tells us more in this report.
A public meeting hosted by the New Democratic Party at Clare Valley on Saturday night ended prematurely. This following an incident which the opposition says needs a thorough and transparent police investigation. According to reports, while opposition leader Arnhim Eustace was addressing the gathering, a black four-door motor vehicle drove directly into the crowd.
Over 20 years, we've been in the over 20 years. What is it? I'm here to see information. People should not get around with me.
Several persons, including a child, were injured as a result and were taken to the Milton Cato Memorial Hospital. One of the injured persons, who was a former supporter of the governing Unity Labour Party, Edgar Cruikshank, who had switched political sides, was reportedly campaigning for the MP and NDP candidate for South Leeward, Nigel Stephenson.
So I jumped off the stage and I went over. And when I got there, I saw a number of people who were pinned under the vehicle. One of them, my very, very good friend, Derek Maxwell, was there, and he was literally gasping for air, and I knew that something terribly had gone wrong. And shortly after that, I recognized somebody that I knew. I couldn't believe it was Edgar Cruikshank on the ground, struggling and fighting for his life. And he was so badly hurt that I didn't even know what to do at that time. I mean, it's just like paralysis of the mind. And at the end of it, we had to lift the vehicles off those guys and try to get medical attention. But what was really appalling to me is the fact that while we were calling on the police to assist, there was no police that would come to the rescue of these people, and it was really, really bad.
Cruikshank was seriously injured in the incident and later succumbed to his injuries at the Milton Cato Memorial Hospital. Earlier today, SVG-TV News visited the Cruikshank family. However, they did not wish to comment on his death at this time. The other persons injured during Saturday night's incident, whose names were published today in a release issued by the NDP, included retired nurse Augustine Allen, Winston Phillips, videographer Ruff, who sustained broken legs, and Michael Francis. Kristin John-Deane reporting for SVG-TV News.
Meantime, opposition leader Arnhim Eustace says last Saturday's event is a national one and not political. Speaking on the NDP's New Times program today, Eustace says he does not endorse the notion that what occurred is another political battle between the ULP and the NDP, and persons should not think of it that way.
What occurred on Saturday, December the 6th, is an affront to all the people and the nation of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I say that St. Vincent and the Grenadines will not tolerate any attack on long-entrenched freedoms, with those freedoms constitutionally derived of the sacred God-given variety. Each of us is bestowed by God the liberty to choose. Mr. Edgar Cruikshank made what would be his final choice in the days before his death. He made that choice, and the reasons therefore known to certain Vincentians of late. While in fact he has been silenced, his story shall be told, his message shall be delivered.
He further appealed to Vincentians to remain calm at this time.
I know that there are a lot of feelings out there, a lot of emotions running at this point in time. But our objective must be to get to the bottom of this issue. It has serious implications for the nation of St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
And MP for the South Leeward constituency, Nigel Stephenson, expressed condolences to the family of Edgar Cruikshank and best wishes to those who were injured in the incident.
I want to express my deepest sympathy to Mr. Cruikshank's wife and the daughters that I visited and the extended family. I know that they are going through untold pain at this particular time, and I'm trusting that they will themselves put their trust in God, who is going to strengthen them, who is acquainted with the situation as it is. And I am hoping that at the end of the day, that there will be some closure to this thing, so that there will be justice, because the loss of life, is never an easy thing, and the way in which he lost his life. I also want to express my sorrow to the families also of the various individuals who were injured in that meeting, and I want to say to them, be encouraged, all is not lost.
On radio on Sunday, General Secretary of the Unity Labour Party, Senator Julian Francis, also extended condolences to the Cruikshank family, outlining that it was indeed a sad day.
It's a sad day. These unfortunate things do happen from time to time, over which we have very little control. And I suppose we just have to learn to live with it.
Okay.
I know all sorts of blames are being placed all over the place, but the truth shall set you free.
True.
The information I have tells me that it's a genuine accident, and that we have to figure out whether something went wrong with the driver or the vehicle.
Yes.
And that, I'm sure, will come out in the investigation. Publicly, I want to extend again, on behalf of the party and the government, to...
In another incident over the weekend, the body of 23-year-old Enoch George of Rockies was discovered on Saturday in a gutter in the New Montrose area with gunshot wounds. The circumstances surrounding his death are, however, not known. The police are investigating the matter. And in some court news today, Kisera Brown, a 26-year-old resident of Kinhall, was arrested and charged by police for causing the death of boyfriend 23-year-old Sylvanus Joey Porter of Camden Park. Porter is reported to have succumbed to 4 stab wounds to his body inflicted by Brown during a fracas which developed into an altercation on Wednesday, December 3rd. Brown appeared at the Serious Offences Court earlier today before Chief Magistrate Rachel Brown Matthias and was remanded to custody until January 5th, 2015, when a preliminary inquiry is expected to commence. Meanwhile, Patricia McCoy, a 34-year-old food vendor of Magum in the Sandy Bay area, has been busted by the police for drug possession during a stop and search mission. McCoy, who was traveling in the vehicle at the time, was intercepted with a total of 1,485 grams of marijuana, which was discovered by Police Constable Saville Howe. She was this morning escorted before Chief Magistrate Brown Matthias and pleaded guilty to the charge of drug possession with intent to supply to another. A fine of $2,500 was imposed upon her, of which $1,500 is to be paid forthwith or face 9 months jail term at the Female Detention Center. The balance of $1,000 is to be paid by January 30th, 2015, or an additional 6 months jail time will be imposed. While delivering the facts of the case, Chief Prosecutor Adolphus Delpesh took time out to congratulate the officer for a job well done for detecting the drug, which was well packaged, although it was indicated that he is not a member of the Narcotics Division. 2 veteran lawyers were on Saturday honored by the SVG Bar Association at a gala dinner and award ceremony held to commemorate the 25th anniversary of the OECS Bar Association. Panel Campbell QC was honored with the Legal Luminary 2014 award, and L.A. Douglas Williams was honored for his 50th anniversary of being called to the bar. Both awardees expressed gratitude to the association.
There is nothing more gratifying than being honored by one's peers. I want to commend Ms. Renée Batiste on what I call an honoring mentality, in that she has been associated with many national institutions, and in all of them, if she didn't meet a tradition of honoring, she certainly started one.
So I don't think I can add anything more. I must thank my good friend Arnhim John. I don't know where he got all that information from the days when I attended the Kingston Anglican School. I didn't even remember that. And I've known Madam President for many years, because we're from the same district in Kingston.
The findings of SVG's first ever National Health Accounts study was presented today at a workshop hosted by the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment. The study was designed to measure health spending, including spending on HIV/AIDS in SVG. Participants of today's workshop were drawn from key government agencies, including the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning, as well as insurance companies and non-governmental organizations. Addressing the opening ceremony of the workshop, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment, Leeward, says it was important for SVG to undertake such an exercise, as the National Health Accounts is an international recognized framework that is designed to measure and track private, public, household and donor healthcare expenditure in many countries.
National Health Accounts answers questions such as who finances health services, how much is spent and on what services, how are funds used across the different health services, interventions and activities. Ladies and gentlemen, more than 100 countries worldwide systematically produce national health accounts reports for policy discussions and evaluation of their financial arrangements. These reports have helped to identify major health financing concerns. The National Health Accounts, which was conducted in St. Kitts and Nevis, found that government spending on health was below the regional average. The Nevis Ministry of Health was then able to use the National Health Accounts exercise to successfully negotiate a 6% increase in budgetary allocations to health.
Deshong says the National Health Accounts also provides information that is necessary for financial sustainability planning and understanding healthcare use and spending patterns for evidence-based planning. He says now that the process has started in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, it is important that it does not stop with the results of the findings, but they have to now think of the policy implications of the data and give consideration to the value of having a trend showing such data over time.
Let us therefore use today as a beginning, a point to begin the institutionalization of the National Health Accounts production and use. It is hoped that we will continue to build the capacity in-house so that the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment can continue to produce this data routinely and use it to inform health sector reform.
Meanwhile, coordinator of the Center for Health Economics at the UWI St. Augustine, Professor Carl Theodore, says when one thinks of national health systems, they must look at the labor force and savings. He says one of the responsibilities of the health system is to ensure that the labor force is healthy enough to deliver what it is supposed to deliver. According to Professor Theodore, if savings are important to a country, then the more the country has to spend on illness is the less it will have for savings.
So however we look at it, if we don't get on top of our health situations, the economies we have are not going to do better. You know, it was as early as 1952, I think. There's the Swedish economist, Guanipa, he told the UN that, he said the United Nations has to convince the world, the countries of the world, that if they do not get their populations healthy enough, all this growth and development we're talking about is not going to happen. And I just want to let all of you in health, I want you all to remember that, you know, because we tend to think ourselves, we see ourselves in health, but really we're in health, you know, but we also have a responsibility to the entire socio-economic development challenges that we face. We are contributing to that, and it is in that context, you know, we have to say, well, if in these circumstances resources are fairly tight, what then do we do? There are two things that we have to do. First, we have to ensure that we use whatever resources we have available, use those resources better. But the second thing we have to do, you know, is to try to reduce the demands for those services. We have to do what is necessary to ensure that the pressures on the system are going.
Given the economic situation facing some countries globally, including here in the Caribbean, Professor Theodore says the health systems have to be strengthened and that the only way to do so is to ensure quality policy making improves.
That is critical, because in health, it is what the clinical people do, it is what the people in administration do, and it's clearly what the people in policy are doing. All of us have to be pulling our weight. And at the policy level, to improve what we are doing is important, and as the PS said, we have to get the information on some basics. We have to know how much resources are becoming available to us, where it is coming from, who using it, and who benefiting it. We have to know those things. And that is what the NHA is here to do for us. The NHA is here, and as the PS said, it is a question of thinking about it, thinking as today as a start. We are starting today on what we hope is something that will help to almost change the culture of how we're doing what we're doing.
A child's right to education must not be violated even in times of disasters. That's according to Chief Education Officer Gilchrist, speaking at the opening ceremony of a two-day child-focused and gender-sensitive disaster and emergency preparedness workshop. Gilchrist told the participants, usually when there is a natural disaster, everyone is focused on the basics such as proper shelter and food. She says oftentimes schools are being used as shelters beyond disasters and that this can interrupt students' learning who are sometimes forced to stay at home.
Of the basics, which are absolutely essential because after all they are called basics. However, we often do not pay enough attention to the fact that instruction must continue. For instruction to continue, it means that NEMO, along with the relevant government institutions, must find alternative shelters alternative to the schools. So the Ministry of National Mobilization with its officers, NEMO, BRACSO, Ministry of Housing, and all of the related entities prepare alternative shelters. The schools are cleaned, they're made ready for students to return for their instruction because instruction must continue even in times of disasters. We cannot violate our students' fundamental right to an education. We cannot violate the Convention on the Rights of the Child, even in times of disaster. Therefore, it is very important that instruction continue, that as a Ministry of Education, that as a Ministry of National Mobilization, that as a Ministry of Health, that as the Coast Guard, that as the private sector, the NGOs, we all work together to ensure that our people are not only safe, but that all of their rights remain intact.
Meanwhile, the Chief Education Officer is encouraging more Vincentians to become volunteers, especially during times of disasters.
And let me take this moment to appeal to members of the communities, of each community, especially of each disaster-prone community, to step forward, volunteer, and be active members of the shelter management committees. Please, some of our head teachers do not live in the communities in which their schools are located, and they find it inordinately difficult to drum up the support which they need to have these schools managed as shelters. So I'm urging you, as responsible, caring citizens of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, to step up to the plate and to volunteer, and not just to volunteer, but to become actively involved in shelter management and in providing relief and support to the affected population.
According to Gilchrist, due to certain problems that were experienced in past times, it is important to find new shelter volunteers who will be able to aid persons in the respective communities, not just in natural disasters, but in man-made ones as well.
It is really stressful for me where I am to get the management committees set up, the shelter management committees, because the head teachers will report that members of the community are unwilling, or sometimes their names are down when we check their phone numbers, because we have to check. We decide on any odd day to check these phone numbers out of service. How could you be on a shelter management committee, even in times when we're not under threat, and not have a current number or not send it into the head teacher? These are elements of good citizenship and elements of showing how we seriously take our civic responsibilities. Become a member, an active member, not just a member, become active members of your schools or communities shelter management committee. Please, the lives, the safety of our citizens depend on us.
Close to 100 farmers based on the windward side of mainland St. Vincent were recently involved in a farmers' co-op consultation geared at the revival of the banana industry. The consultation was held on Tuesday, December 2nd at the North Union Learning Resource Center. Minister of Agriculture Saboto told the gathering that it is extremely important that local banana farmers start thinking about what will be the entity that will be purchasing the bananas and carry out the role that was once played by Wind Farm.
Who is going to purchase the bananas on behalf of Fair Trade? How are we going to do the operations, or the operations that Wind Farm used to do? Are we going to leave it up to the government? Are we going to do it ourselves, or are we going to have a partnership? We have to decide that. We could continue with what Bruce is doing, and the government could organize that part of it to the Farmer Support Company, and farmers could be paid on time, because timely payment is going to be critical going forward. Because if you have to control Black Sigatoka, you have to get your money on time to buy your inputs, whether your fertilizer or your herbicides.
Caesar also told the farmers that they must seriously consider maximizing the benefits to be had for bananas on the regional market. He explains that while, as at the end of December 2014, SVG would have exported 1,100 tons of bananas for the year, the demand for bananas in the region alone is more than twice or almost 3 times that amount.
Persons have it that is a sin worse than fornication, not to send bananas to the United Kingdom. Some persons have it that in their mind. Brothers and sisters, once we get a good price, we are selling bananas to people who want bananas to buy and going to pay us good money on time. Full stop. Some persons have in their mind, oh Lord, if banana ain't go to England, that is the depth of the issue. No. Barbados is offering $18 a box loose and we're going to negotiate with him to get $20 a box. Where he's providing the box, he provided everything. And the man can't get enough bananas. He signed up a contract with Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines to supply all their bananas for all the ships that come into Barbados. We don't have enough bananas or close to that as yet.
With the Christmas spirit in the air, a number of Vincentians were last Friday, December 5th, presented with a gift in the form of a concert hosted by the Embassy of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. Charge of Affairs of the Venezuelan Embassy, Daliana Guanipa, told SVG-TV News that the concert was also being held in celebration of the 10th anniversary of the Bolivarian Alliance for the People of the Americas, ALBA. The event featured a number of performances in the form of song, dance, and the playing of different musical instruments. According to Guanipa, music is a very fitting medium to demonstrate the linkages between Venezuela and SVG.
We have also the presentation of the end of Quattro workshop by Maestro Raul and Dieta. The participation of the kids from grammar school and St. Mary's primary school and other local parties.
Guanipa says the concert is now in its second year and adds that she is very pleased with this year's package.
Last year we held the first parent seminar, so we bring parents from Trinidad and Tobago to show the Vincentians how close we are and how the instruments and how the Caribbean links to Venezuela. Okay.
What are your thoughts on the turnout tonight? What do you think about tonight's event?
Well, its turnout is for now it is great and a lot of people show up. I'm very happy for that. And well, also is as gift to the Vincentian to show our culture that it's similar to the Vincentian culture.
Here is an excerpt of some of the performances that were staged last Friday at the Venezuelan Embassy Christmas concert.
Every time I pass, they see about me. Every time I pass, they see about me. I will tell me, Mama, don't send me down here again.
It's alright tonight, running to eyes. Shake the booty right to the rhythm, provide. Snake a right tonight, me by your side. Yo, shake it right, pata tonight. Bring it on the right, if you get it tonight. Upside down, loving on the night. Don't shake with it. Baby, all about me, give it to life. Pretty mama, get it on, make it feel.
The Ministry of Education said it is preparing to stage the grand finale of its annual Christmas Music Festival. 16 schools have been selected to perform in the exhibition concert. These schools presented the most outstanding items in the preliminaries of the festival. The finalists are Belair Government, Beckway Anglican Primary, Caliaco Anglican Primary, Clare Valley Government, Kingston Anglican, Kingston Preparatory, Lomans Leeward Anglican, New Prospect Primary, Richland Park Government, Sandy Bay Government, and the School for Children with Special Needs, Kingstown. The others are South Rivers Methodist, St. Mary's Roman Catholic, Sugar Mill Academy, Turma Government, and Westwood Methodist. The finals of the festival will take place on Wednesday, December 10th at the Peace Memorial Hall from 1:30 p.m.